Hi, in this lesson, you will learn about installing and authenticating GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio. The installation process varies slightly depending on your version of Visual Studio, but the modern approach is now integrated directly into the Visual Studio installer. So this lesson is divided into three phases. Phase 1 is installation, phase 2 is authentication, and phase 3 is verification and best practices. Let's move to phase 1. So there are two options for installing GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio. Option A is via Visual Studio installer. This is the recommended option for version 17.10 and higher. Option B is via manage extensions. This is the recommended option for older versions or manual install. So let's go ahead with option A first. Open Visual Studio installer in your system. So this is the Visual Studio installer. As you can see, Visual Studio Professional 2026 is already installed in my system. Professional development requires a stable foundation. We are going to use the Visual Studio installer to ensure GitHub Copilot is baked into your IDE environment. By selecting it as a component here, you are ensuring that it receives updates and maintenance alongside your core development tools. So select the Visual Studio Professional option here, click on modify. As you can see, this Azure and AI development option is shown here along with other options. So select this Azure and AI development option. As you can see towards the right hand side of your Visual Studio installer screen, you can find the GitHub Copilot and the GitHub Copilot modernization. Two options are pre-selected. The next step for you is to click on the modify option here and all the selected components will be installed in your system. So let's go ahead with option B, that is via manage extensions. So for this, let's open Microsoft Visual Studio. I have opened the Microsoft Visual Studio now. The next step is to go to the extensions menu and select the manage extensions option. Then you need to search for GitHub Copilot. As you can see, this is the GitHub Copilot for Azure Visual Studio. As you can see, this is already installed in my system. So if it's not installed in your system, then you can go ahead and search for GitHub Copilot and then install it in your system. Then next you have to search for GitHub Copilot chat. As you can see, this is looking for the chat. Here it is, GitHub Copilot chat. As you can see, this is not installed in my system, so I can go ahead and install this in my system. So if you are working on an existing installation, we will use the extension manager. Think of this as plug and play architecture. We are pulling the Copilot modules directly into your local editor. Let's move to the next phase, that is phase 2. This talks about authentication. The first step in authentication is establishing the connection. So authentication is more than just a login. It's a secure handshake that validates your subscription. By signing in, you are authorizing the Visual Studio IDE to utilize your specific GitHub credential, which unlocks your individual or enterprise AI capacity. So let's open Visual Studio. Go to the top right hand side corner in the screen. You can see the sign in option available. So click on the sign in option and click on the GitHub account here. The next step in the authentication is the browser authorization. So your browser acts as the secure gatekeeper. By authorizing this request, you are confirming that your local machine is allowed to send context-aware requests to the GitHub cloud. Once the browser returns the success signal, our bridge is complete. So let's see. As you can see, it is asking me to continue with my signed in GitHub Copilot account, or you can go ahead and use a different account. Like you can continue with Google or you can continue with Apple. So let me go back and use my GitHub Copilot account to continue here. So I'll press continue. It asks me to open Microsoft Visual Studio. Yes, and click on the open Microsoft Visual Studio option here. So return to Visual Studio and just check again in the GitHub icon. As you can see, now I have logged in using my GitHub account, and this authorization process is complete now. Let's move to phase 3 for verification and the best practices. Let's open Microsoft Visual Studio. Let's go to the top right corner. Here, as you can see, the GitHub Copilot is in active state. Always verify your status icon. If it's inactive, check your account settings. You must be signed in with the same GitHub account that holds your Copilot subscription. Being able to diagnose these status states is a key skill for any lead developer managing an AI driven team. So we have verified and confirmed our status, and we have logged in using our GitHub Copilot ID in the Visual Studio. Thank you. Let's move to phase 3 for verification and the best practices. Let's open Microsoft Visual Studio. Let's go to the top right corner. Here, as you can see, the GitHub Copilot is in active state. Always verify your status icon. If it's inactive, check your account settings. You must be signed in with the same GitHub account that holds your Copilot subscription. Being able to diagnose these status states is a key skill for any lead developer managing an AI driven team. So we have verified and confirmed our status, and we have logged in using our GitHub Copilot ID in the Visual Studio. Thank you.